up, everybody? Do my back. Welcome to the 8th episode. I was about to say 7th. Welcome to the 8th episode of Godzilla-Thon. This week we are going to be reviewing Invasion of the Astro Monster, or Invasion of Astro Monster, or Godzilla vs. Monster Zero, or Monster Zero, from 1965. So this was the movie that immediately followed Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster, or Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster. This one's a really good one. This one's one of those classic Showa Godzilla films that most people seem to remember. I have some pretty fond childhood memories of it myself, because when I used to be sick from school, I would always see, for whatever reason, I don't quite know why, I would always pop this one in. I used to have it on VHS. I'd pop it in, and I'd just sit back and watch it when I'd lay in bed, and I'd be sick. Once again, I don't quite know why this was one of my go-to movies for when I was sick, but for the longest time it was, to the point where if I wasn't sick and I'd watch this, I'd want to be sick just so I could have a need to watch this. It was weird. I'm not as big of a fan of this movie now as I was back then, and I'm confused currently how I was as big of a fan of this movie back then as I was, because let's be honest, when we get into this review, this is not a good Godzilla movie. And I know, before anyone freaks out on me, get through the review, you'll see what I mean. I love this movie, but it's not a good Godzilla movie. You'll see what I mean by that here in however long it takes me to get to that explanation. So, Invasion of the Astro Monster, this was my first time watching the Japanese cut, and that's the cut that I'm going to be reviewing mainly. So, first of all, it looks great on DVD. This is the first time I've watched it on DVD. Looks amazing on DVD, and the VHS is put away in the basement now. It's put away for most likely for good, unless my DVD breaks, which would suck. And then I'll have to go back to the VHS. But it looks great on DVD, and at the beginning it plays the Monster Zero March, the famous Ifukube Godzilla March. He uses it in Battle in Outer Space. Used it in Godzilla 1954, used it here, will continue to use it all the way up until the Heisei era. He'll still be using it then. So, well, this is one of Ifukube's main pieces right here. It's always tweaked, but it's the main piece of this is always used and carried over the Japanese military march. So this is one of those American co-productions as well. So we have Nick Adams in there as astronaut Glenn. We also have Akira Takarada as Fuji, so that's really cool to see him returning. He, of course, played Ogata in the original Gojira from 1954. So let's get into the plot. Glenn and Fuji are astronauts. They are on a spaceship headed to a new planet discovered by Jupiter. The planet is called Planet X. This takes place in the year I think it said like 1960X or 1970X, one of the two. It's some point in the quote-unquote future of when the movie was made. It was just an unspecified date. So they're headed to Planet X. Convenient that it's called Planet X by the Earthlings and then also called their Planet X, whatever. Fuji's he's an overprotective brother of his sister, which is a great dynamic they have between the two. It's really great when the sister's boyfriend is introduced. So his sister is dating he's an inventor. His name is Tetsuo. He's kind of a failure in the eyes of Fuji. He hasn't really amounted to anything. He's working on this annoying contraption that comes in handy, but it's a really annoying contraption. He seems to be going nowhere in life. He hasn't accomplished anything yet. Fuji is just trying to look out for his sister's best financial interests. It seems like he's trying to set her up with someone successful. He wants her to live a happy, prosperous life, whereas she just wants to live a happy life with Tetsuo. So Tetsuo is developing this noise transmitter. It comes in handy at the end, like I said. Also, another funny story, or another story, because now that I'm getting into Godzilla movies that I have a deep emotional connection with from my childhood, I can start telling these stories. Next one, I'll have very few stories, because I freaking hate Godzilla vs. the Sea Monster. So, Tetsuo is he's making this noise transmitter. So, when I used to watch this movie, because I do a Godzilla-Thon every year, this year I kind of failed at it, but every year up until this year, for the past while now, I've done a Godzilla-Thon where I'll watch all the Godzilla movies that I own. Now that I own all of them, I've watched all of them. Where I used to watch all the Godzilla movies that I owned in order every week I'd watch a new one, and that was just how I did things. So, um, I would always watch them when going to sleep. I'd always fall asleep really quickly. I don't know how, but for whatever reason, this movie specifically, I'd fall asleep really quickly. And Tetsuo's noise, his noise transmitter, it gets a name later. I think the name is the Lady Guard. So Tetsuo's noise transmitter, when it first goes off, makes this super high pitched, loud buzzing noise, and it just goes on for like 30 seconds before someone runs up and yells, "Telephone!" Every single time that scene would come on. And I don't know why I never figured out, oh, wait, I should probably just turn the TV off. But I would fall asleep watching this movie. The stupid thing would go off. I'd freak out every single time, panic, try and find my phone, find out what's going on here, find the remote and turn the TV, like pause it. I'd freak out because this stupid noise was so loud and it terrified me. Every night I was sleeping, this noise goes off and I'd always wake up to her going, "Telephone!" every single time, and I would watch. I know this gets annoying for most people, not for me. I can do it clearly because I'm the one who did it. But every week of Godzilla-Thon, typically, I watch the movie every single night. I pop it in every single night when going to sleep, and that gets annoying for some people. Some people can't watch the same movie 7 days in a row. I personally can. I love these Godzilla movies. The only one that I'd make some exceptions, like Godzilla vs. Sea Monster. Watch that one once, one full sitting in 1 week, and then I never watch it again until next year. So, you guys will look forward to next week. I hate that movie. I don't know. I don't know what to say about it here. So every time I'd wake up during that scene, I'd also wake up at the end when they implement it against the Planet X spaceships, and the spaceships are being shot at. I'd wake up at the end, and that's when I'd turn the TV off, and I'd be like, I cannot watch the rest of this movie. I'm tired. So, just funny story there, I guess, because I gotta fill out the runtime of this episode because I don't have a ton to say about the plot, even though it's a very crowded plot. So Planet X is putting out advanced radio waves. The P-1 spaceship is headed on its way to Planet X. Planet X is revealed to be a satellite of Jupiter. For those of you who are too young to know what a real satellite is, that's not something that people built and put in space. That is a natural body or just any sort of large object in space is referred to as a satellite in science. Miss Namikawa, one of our main characters, comes to see Hiroka, whatever that chick's name is, Fuji, and Hiroka Fuji. She's our main guy Fuji's sister, as well as Tetsuo, about the invention. So the P-1 lands on Planet X. Glenn and Fuji investigate it. So I love this too. Me and my dad just watched this movie. There's strange lightning on the planet. Lightning, but no clouds. Then mysterious footsteps show up as some of our people go missing. Sound familiar? This setup at the start of this scene of Planet X reminds me so much of Planet of the Apes, the original. It's ridiculous. There's just the same kind of stuff going on. Mysterious footsteps, lightning, no thunder. This kind of like dark, mysterious setup leading up to what's happening. This very ominous tone. It's like really, there's a lack of music, so it kind of makes it more intense. It's really weird how similar some of these scenes are. Me and my dad kind of chuckled over it. So Glenn and Fuji are investigating the planet. The P-1 as well as Glenn disappear. Fuji kind of freaks out, and then the people of Planet X show up, and they're like, "Yo, we got you." So they take Fuji underground in this tube. It's like a weird cylinder tube. The people of Planet X are interesting to say the least, just based off the way they dress. They're pretty sweet characters. I mean, the main dude, there is no sympathy and no remorse. They're like Terminators. They will not bargain with you. They will not reason with you. They will not stop till you're dead. So, they're pretty awesome characters because, especially this main guy, the commander, or the commandant, I think he's referred to in the Japanese cut. They're really sweet characters just because of how emotionless they are. Later on, they'll gun down one of our main characters, no problem. So here they take him under, and they're kind of they're deceiving our people from Earth. They explain that this Monster Zero, is attacking their planet. That's why they have to live underground. Then all of a sudden, Monster Zero shows up. So Monster Zero shows up. This is King Ghidorah, it's revealed to be. King Ghidorah is how he got on this Planet X is not explained, but it doesn't really matter. He just kind of shows up and is destroying stuff, and then they're like, there he is, the mighty Ghidorah, as you know him. He also has the title King Ghidorah in this movie, which he did not have in the last movie. So the people of Planet X wish to use Godzilla and Rodan to fight King Ghidorah. This should be our first hint that they're not telling the full truth, because if they have the technology to get Godzilla and Rodan to Planet X, then they would have the technology to get King Ghidorah off of Planet X. So the reason they don't take him off is revealed towards the end of the movie. In return, Earth gets the cure for cancer in the Japanese cut. And so, in the words of Kyoko and Patterson from Shin Godzilla, it is a win-win situation for Earth. You get rid of two monsters that will destroy stuff. You also get the cure for cancer. Or in the English cut, it's the cure for all disease. So the person who bought the Lady Guard, which is Tetsuo's invention, this is actually kind of a mysterious thing going on through the whole thing of because we know Miss Namikawa bought it, but we don't know why. She says it's for a toy company, but they're not making the toy. It's also, it'd be a terrible toy. And then we also see some strange scenes of them sitting there, and they're obviously the people from Planet X who are in charge here. Fuji, there's a great scene where Fuji and Tetsuo have to sit there at a dinner table together, and it's really awkward silence while Fuji's sister and Glenn, who were also there, they walk away for a minute because Glenn's going out on a date with Namikawa. So there's a great scene when Fuji and Tetsuo just have to sit there in awkward silence for a while, and both of them just stare at each other. It's really funny. So Glenn goes out on a date with Namikawa. They stay in a bungalow for the night, as it's referred to in the English cut. Glenn sees the commander from Planet X on Earth. He starts questioning why was he here. All of a sudden, Godzilla's found in this lake. The people from Planet X predicted Godzilla to be in that lake. They also predicted Rodan to be inside of this mountain. For whatever reason, Rodan seems to like hanging out in mountains. Then, all of a sudden, the people from Planet X show up in this lake with their spaceships. They take Godzilla and Rodan to Planet X. They also take Glenn, Fuji, as well as a military dude to Planet X. The ships from Planet X are controlled by brainwaves. Something weird that keeps coming up within these past two movies is brainwaves. You also got that as a big major theme last movie with the brainwaves at the start of Ghidra the Three-Headed Monster being what was driving the Martian outside alien forces or whatever they were trying to figure out the mystery in the 20th century. At the start of the movie with all those strange goings-ons and the UFOs, everything going on there. So it's interesting that the fact that brainwaves would seem to be brought up multiple times in these movies. So now Ghidorah shows up on Planet X with Godzilla and Rodan there. They whoop his butt. There's a great scene when Godzilla's hiding behind some rocks. Ghidorah's he's shooting lightning at the rocks. Godzilla pops up, kicks a rock, and nails Ghidorah in one of his faces. And then all of a sudden, Rodan picks up this boulder, drops it straight onto Ghidorah's back. He's knocked nearly down. And then Godzilla jumps out, blasts him with the atomic breath. So he hits him with the atomic breath. Then he does this flying jump all the way over to Ghidorah, knocks him over, and just starts beating down on him to the point where Ghidorah has to retreat. He seems to retreat a lot in these movies, doesn't he? So he's retreated last time, and then he retreats now. He flies away. Godzilla and Rodan are victorious, and Godzilla does the iconic and infamous he does the victory dance, which everyone seems to know and make fun of. I think it's awesome. As it's referred to in the English cut, it is a happy moment. So, there are many Namikawas discovered on Planet X. And what I mean by that is there's many clones of the same girl on Planet X. Glenn saying that, beauty's not just skin deep, it's what's on the inside that matters. It's found that Planet X has a water shortage. There's also a really great scene set up earlier. This is especially noticeable in the English cut, where During Ghidorah's first attack, you see him fly on the mount. You see him fly over this mountain and start blasting stuff, and then you hear one of the commanders say like something like, "Oh, our hydrogen oxide," which technically isn't an element that exists. You can have dihydrogen monoxide, but hydrogen oxide isn't really, unless you're having that's a different thing. OH is also a different element. Hydroxide's a different element. But they say, I'm in chemistry, so I know this stuff. I'm in advanced chemistry, so I know this stuff. So Ghidorah flies over this mountain. He blasts something, and they're like, "Oh, our hydrogen oxide is being depleted. We won't be able to maintain control of the," and then it cuts off right there, and we don't hear what he says. He was most likely going to say like, we can't maintain control of Ghidorah because they were controlling him. Spoiler alert, they were controlling him. So there's great setup there. So it's found that Planet X actually has a water shortage. Water's less valuable than gold there, as they keep saying. So after this goes down, Godzilla and Rodan are left on Planet X. Planet X takes Earth hostage, saying it may only exist as a colony of Planet X. One thing that I think is really interesting, because in most alien invasion plots, you just get them being like, "Oh, we're going to take over Earth, and humans will be extinct." In this one, they're like, "No, you guys can be here. We're not going to kill you all. You guys will just work for us." They're like Negan. They may kill some of you to prove a point, but once the lesson is learned, once the price is paid, you earned your keep. You just gotta provide for them, and they will take half your stuff, and then there you go. Well, it's not specified to half their stuff. It was just implied that they were going to take their water in this movie. Something that us humans seem to need a lot. So Namikawa is killed because she's revealed to be a Planet X person, obviously. She's a Planet X spy, but she fell in love with Glenn. This goes against her protocol because everyone on Planet X is dictated by a computer. There is no individuality. It is just a central law. So she's killed. This is what I meant earlier. The commander has no problem gunning her down, killing her immediately. There is no hesitation, no surrender, no hesitation, no man left behind. Get it? Anyone? Thundergun Express? Anyone? Always Sunny. So the Kaiju are let loose on Earth. This means that Godzilla, Rodan, and Ghidorah are all destroying stuff. There's a great action scene where Godzilla and Rodan are destroying stuff. Really cool shots of Godzilla's foot going through buildings. They made a big foot to destroy some of these miniatures. It's really sweet. Really great effects, really ambitious with this movie. Same thing with the set pieces on Planet X, look amazing. So the Lady Guard transmits a sound that is too much to handle for the people of Planet X, which winds up killing them. Well, it doesn't necessarily kill them, it just forces them to go into a state where they cannot react. It basically puts them into a seizure. So once Tetsuo and Glenn discover this, they just start using it on these people. Fuji works out a way to break the people from Planet X's magnetic waves, which are controlling the monsters. So they figure out a way to turn the monsters from destroying the cities. They figure out a way to turn that system off. So Godzilla and Rodan are destroying everything. There's great action sequences here. The military's fighting back. That amazing military march is going on during this whole setup scene where they're trying to get stuff done. Ghidorah starts destroying cities with Godzilla and Rodan. Really cool to see Ghidorah destroy a city. We don't see that really ever in the series other than this and Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster. We see some scenes, but not like this where he's like walking through buildings, smashing stuff. The Lady Guard starts being transmitted all across Japan. It sets the people from Planet X into ruins. Their spaceships start blowing up. All this stuff starts happening. They can't control it. Tanks are firing down at the bungalow, which the people from Planet X had taken over. The bungalow is destroyed. Everyone inside of there is dying very slowly and brutally. One thing that's weird about this movie is that the deaths of the bad guys are so slow and brutal. Mothra vs. Godzilla, you don't see the deaths. You see Godzilla walk up to the building that you know our bad guys are in, and then you cut to the building falling down with him destroying it. This one, you watch the people die very slowly and brutally, so it's very odd how that happens. I love it, though. I think it works great. So the Lady Guard's being transmitted across Japan. The monster controller is broken using Fuji's invention. The people of Planet X self-destruct in an attempt to get out of having to listen to this crippling noise to them. Godzilla Godzilla and Rodan versus Ghidorah. Round 2 from Ghidorah the Three-Headed Monster. It's the fight again. This is also round 2 from in this movie. So the two of them wind up whooping his butt. Ghidorah, he's awesome, right? Showa Ghidorah doesn't really have anything going for him, though, because he loses every battle he's in. He's just talked up a lot. So Godzilla and Rodan wind up kicking his butt. He gets annihilated, which is what makes Destroy All Monsters so great. We'll get there. But that's awesome, the fact that they just completely annihilate him. It's another tooth and claw fight, although Godzilla is using the atomic breath more here. In fact, he didn't even use it last time. I made the mistake of saying that. Someone caught me in the comments. Thank you for watching the video at that point. So there's a very tooth and claw fight here as well. This is what I was meaning last time. I feel like they always try to replicate that fight, but not to the same excess. This one doesn't feel as successful as last time, where it just really seemed awesome and epic last time. This one doesn't seem as good. Ghidorah retreats, flying away. Godzilla and Ghidorah kind of tackle each other down a mountain, just like King Kong vs. Godzilla style. Plummet into the water. Ghidorah retreats, flying away, and it's basically announced that no, Godzilla was down there. He's alive. He won. The English cut of this movie, called Monster Zero. This is a Henry G. Saperstein, or Saperstein, however you're going to pronounce it. This is one of his co-productions with Toho, as well as War of the Gargantuas, Frankenstein Conquers the World, so on and so on. This one, I think King Kong Escapes is also. This is another one of those, which is why the set pieces look so good. We'll get to the effects here in a minute. I want to talk about this really fast. The fact that the stock footage in this movie, because I don't really have anything different to say about the English cut other than the fact that watch it for Nick Adams' performance only. He's a great actor, and you can really see that in this American cut. It's really cut out of the Japanese cut, because one thing that's interesting is the fact that they dub Nick Adams' lines in Japanese, so no matter what version of this movie, you're going to be watching a dubbed performance, which kind of takes away from the chemistry that Glenn and Fuji have. I want to see them play it off the way it was meant to be played off, which is them speaking their native languages to each other, just having a good time. So this is a really interesting one, because either way you're watching a dubbed performance. In the original, you're seeing Akira Takarada's performance, which is amazing. This one, you're seeing Nick Adams' performance, which is also really good. There's some great scenes. You can see the actor Nick Adams getting down and dirty, throwing some punches. He's not like taking any blows. He's not like one of those actors who does their own stunts, obviously, but he might. I don't think he does, or did, I should say. But he did get down and dirty. You can see some scenes. He's like really giving it his all. He's a great Adam. I don't know why I said that. A great Adam. He is a great Adam. A great Nick Adam. He's a great actor. And I think it's a shame what happened, how it turned out. But he really gives it his all in these movies, and so it's great to see his performance. He was a really nice addition to these movies. One thing I want to talk about, though, one thing that I don't like about this movie, this is the first one that I can think of that uses stock footage to overwhelming effect. This is actually the first one that I think uses stock footage that, unlike Godzilla Raids Again, which used stock footage from the 54 attack, that was used in a video clip showing Godzilla's attack in 54. This is just inserted into the movie. Works terribly, because you're getting shots of Rodan's attack from Rodan. The suit looks completely different. It's really jarring. There's some mistakes there with the stock footage, and that will continue and only get worse throughout the rest of the series. Big problem. Stock footage is real. The effects are good, alright? The effects are really good, because the set pieces are amazing. Like, these are the biggest set pieces in any Godzilla film in the Showa era, and that is why it really feels so grand. It really feels different, and the sci-fi is so ambitious in this movie because they had that American co-production funding, so they could do a lot more with it. The problem is, as Adam Noyce often says, or as he quotes, I'm not going to say it directly, I'm going to paraphrase here. The more money you have, the less you are creative in hiding the mistakes. So, pretty much, when a movie has a bigger budget, it doesn't get creative to hide the little mistakes. This movie does not hide the little mistakes at all. You can see the wires holding Ghidorah up most of the time he's there. Same with Rodan. It's clunky. It takes you out of the experience because it is a big mistake, and there's nothing you can do about it. It's gonna always be there. And as movies age, the effects will age with it. So it's just one of those things that happens. It's disappointing, but there's nothing that anyone on Earth can ever do about it. And I think it is a result of this movie having such a big budget, because the solo Toho films, such as Mothra vs. Godzilla, the effects were done a lot better. I think a lot more convincingly in that movie, which is a big problem. It's kind of disappointing. But like I said, the set pieces make this really great for special effects. Now, the music is great. It's not as good as the previous two scores. I think this is the weakest ever since. The weakest score ever since Godzilla Raids Again, which means King Kong vs. Godzilla, Mothra vs. Godzilla, as well as Ghidorah were all better than this one, which is also sad, even though this one has one of the greatest themes ever to be composed by Akira Ifukube. The human plot is also really good. It's just really crowded. There's a lot going on here. You have to really follow what's going on to get it. You can't just kind of show up like an hour into the movie and expect to know what's going on. It's not one of those movies. You can't do that. You have to be involved with this human plot because there's so much going on so quickly. It's a very crowded plot. And that's not a bad thing. That just adds to it because the sci-fi elements are so great. We don't see enough of that in Ifukube, or I don't know why I said that. He's not a Ifukube is not a director. We don't see that enough in Honda's films with really out there sci-fi aspects, which makes this one really stand out as an individual piece and makes it stand on its own, so it's really good. Speaking of individuals, let's get into the themes and allegory, which is the need for individuality. Something that I found really weird. There seems to be an emphasis on the need for individuality. Honda may have been worried about the future of Earth, I think, because when you watch this movie, he's obviously... This really seems like a paranoid dude going on about, like, oof, watch out for technology, one day it'll kill us all. That kind of thing, because, like... The people from Planet X are governed by a singular computer system which tells them how to live their lives. That might be his fear of technology coming out, as well as the fact that space travel unleashes these people who try and kill us all. So it might be his fears of future advancements coming out. I don't know. I could be drawing too much from that. The other thing that I found kind of as for the allegory here is the need for individuality especially with Namikawa's characterization of her wanting to break free from that. She wants to break free from having to obey the people of Planet X, while at the same time still being loyal to them, which is ultimately why she gets killed, because she tries to convert Glenn into a Planet X person and he won't take it. So she basically says, let's get married, you'll have to become a citizen of Planet X and that'll happen, you won't die, just follow our rules, you'll be fine. He says, people are going to fight to the end, baby, something like that. That's not a mistake. He literally says something like baby or something like that. So there seems to be an emphasis on that. He seems to be worried that individuality and a singular government are not the right thing, or a lack of individuality and a singular government are going to lead to the downfall of people. We need unity. We need all to work together, but not to be that close to the point where we're all dictated by the same one law. That seems to be the biggest thing going on throughout this movie. Overall, it's a pretty great movie in terms of sci-fi. Now, wow, it took us to the very end of this, 39 minutes for us to finally get here. I don't know why I said 39. It's 30 minutes, and then it was 39 seconds. Okay, so this movie is a really great sci-fi movie. It is not a great Godzilla movie, because here's the thing, Godzilla's in 3 scenes of this movie. He is asleep in a bubble every other time you see him on screen. So that is a huge problem, because this is a Godzilla movie. Yeah, Godzilla's name isn't in the title, which actually makes this a lot better. Otherwise, I would come down on this hard and be like, you're going to give me a Godzilla movie with 3 scenes of Godzilla. this is awful, because 2014 also had that going on, but 2014 also has more screen time for Godzilla than this movie does. So there you can also put that into perspective. Anyone who hates 2014 because Godzilla didn't get a ton of screen time, this one has even less. Godzilla's screen time in this movie is very limited. He shows up 3 times doing stuff, which is once on Planet X, fights Ghidorah, wins, once on Earth destroying stuff, and once fighting Ghidorah and then going away. The rest of his scenes, he's either asleep or standing around on Planet X waiting to be left behind, seemingly. There you go. This is not a great Godzilla movie because Godzilla is hardly in the movie. He gets very little screen time. Ghidorah is the main feature of this movie in terms of monsters, and he's hardly even in it. The main reason you watch this movie is for the sci-fi stuff, because it's an out there, wild sci-fi movie. I have a feeling Battle in Outer Space is going to be something similar to this. Not like this a lot, because there's no giant monsters in it, from what I can tell. But I can't wait to watch that movie. I got it for Christmas, so that one should be interesting. I hope it's a lot like this, in fact, or in the terms of it's like a sci-fi Earth defending against aliens kind of movie, because I want to see more of those from Toho. These are kind of really interesting movies. So final points here. One thing that I forgot to mention is the fact that Glenn winds up becoming a Planet X ambassador, which is also Ifukube saying we need foreign relations. Or I don't know why I keep saying Ifukube. I'm giving him credit where credit is not due. That was Honda. Honda's theme's an allegory. So Glenn becomes an ambassador of Planet X, showing the fact that we need international relationships, something that is still a big problem nowadays. So this is a very great movie for that reason as well. Overall, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. It's not a perfect Godzilla movie by any means. It's actually one of the worst. I'm going to have to word this weird to make it actually fit what I want to say here. This is one of the worst movies to watch for Godzilla, but it is one of the better sci-fi movies to watch. It is not a bad movie. 8 out of 10 still a good score. It's one of the lower scores from Godzilla-Thon up to this point, but it's still a good score, right? So go check out this movie if you want to see a sci-fi movie. Hold off on it if you're wanting a just straight up Godzilla movie. Go watch Mothra vs. Godzilla for that one. So thank you guys all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. See you guys next time for Ebra Horror of the Deep, aka Godzilla vs. Sea Monster, aka I hate my life in that movie. Thank you guys all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. D-Man out.